that the Western man is the only person that ever lived that did not understand death. So basically, when we talk about these things, we're talking about a late Western phenomenon. You see what I'm saying? Number one, because they are immigrant humans. These are the people that these are people that came too late to take the proper world stage of initiations, rites of passages, through mythology, and you see what I'm saying, and through cultural motifs of learning that will prepare people for this world. They came so late until they grew up into a world of ignorance, until the Western man is the person, and you can, if you could pinpoint a culture that didn't know death, it would be that particular one, because we're talking about a people that really didn't have a culture. They borrow pieces from every other culture. They're a parasite, scavenger. You see what I'm saying? An immigrant human. You see, now it's interesting here. So the mystery here is they weren't prepared for death because of the simple fact, the first culture, as them being a civilized people, they were handed religion. Modern religion, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Which basically is moral, mundane, inspirational ceremony, which has no room to teach about death, because the whole plot is to lock you down in a series of fear.
Okay.
To even be ruled by these religions. So therefore, if you're going to have fear, you got to have a place that's dismal, a boogeyman type of zone that no one wants to go to, that would put them on lockdown to even want to deal with the religion. So therefore, the other world has to be the scapegoat.
Right. Oh, God.
It has to be the forbidden zone. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And this is what religions give us. It even says in the Bible, I am a God of the living and not the dead. So it simply tells you that this is a new category of inspirational ceremony that is based on moralism, social behavior. You understand what I'm saying? It has very little to do with the realities beyond the physical world. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it says I am a God of the living and not the dead. Well, let's ponder that for a minute. Everything has to die. So that means death is the ultimate terrain, the ultimate plateau.
That's right.
And the God, and this particular God is saying that I'm not a part of that, it means that that God has to be a subordinate deity, masquerading as the supreme being. You understand what I'm saying? You know, because he does not have dominion over that which is outside of the physical body, to the point whereas if you really study the God that they give over to the dead is the very one that we are prone and taught to be afraid of, Satan.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So the angel of death is Satan.
Right.
Or in the early Christian teachings, they even have this name, Uzzah, or Usar, the god of death. Look at the word Usar, Osiris, which they are right. Osiris is the god of the dead. And you even get this word in early Christian mythology or early Christian teaching of Uzzah, or Usa, which saying in actuality, well, if you really want to deal with that, no, you just got to deal with another type of God. Just so happen it has to be deemed the devil in this world, because this particular teaching and this particular phenomenon, a cult, or a cult, is that for fear. And that for a childlike people to rear them on the lower realm at all times and stuff like that. So that is one of the reasons why you don't know about death in the Western culture. Now let's take the ancient indigenous culture where they said that the ancient Egyptians and all other ancient cultures used to learn about death from a very early age. And the more and more they learned about death and learned about death until death became a neat place or something to aspire to be. It became, you know what I'm saying? Something that is admired. Now we know you can do that now because how many people fell in love with the Dracula mythology? That's some cool shit. It has its own form of immortality. You see, so you can take the same motif and understand how they can teach the people in the ancient world, you see what I'm saying, to fall in love with that particular hereafter, because everything is based on funerary rites. You see, and we even have some of those motifs leaping over into the new world when you look at voodoo, where they have all this burying samadhi, you know what I'm saying, propagated, and all these particular ones. You can even see how neat it is when you get the movie Sugar Hill. Anybody saw the movie Sugar Hill?
Yeah, the old one.
The one from 1975, 73. And you saw burying somebody's in there, and it's cool, killing up people and all. You be like, I want to hang out with them cats, because those cats, they got it going on. The zombies. You see what I'm saying? So, in so many words, we get it in the mythology. It's cool to be dead. You see what I'm saying? Well, in so many words, if you understand that, you could also understand how the ancient people could teach people. How the ancient people could teach people to aspire to look forward to that type of life, and therefore it would be a smooth transition. I'm not saying that they didn't have a certain amount of people that would have a certain emotions when anybody passed out of this world, because it is, you know, it takes a lot to get used to, but still yet, they didn't have this fear of death. And I saw the movie Learning Tree, one of Gordon Parks, who did Shaft. The movie he did before he did Shaft was Learning Tree. And in there, you got the guy, little Newt Wanger, and his grandmama, and Newt saying, man, I sure don't want to die. And the grandmama like, me either. Showing that niggas are scared of death. Then we ask these particular things. How is it that the Native Americans, the Africans, and indigenous people around the world can just lose a grip on things when the white man come in and start taking the earth? Well, number one, they had a prophecy that this stuff was going to happen. Number two, the Native Americans say it's a good day to die. So they didn't look at death as such a tragic form of things when it came to, you know, when it came to people conquering their land. Now, we're not saying they laid down, because they had a lot of, there's one thing about the European, they don't tell you that they had a lot of skirmishes and stuff like that. But my point here is, the difference between the indigenous people is that the European was fighting for his life because he was afraid of death. It might have been a tool of conquering in the end in his modern part, but my point here is it wasn't no big deal for the ancient people. You see what I'm saying? And we can even say that now. We see a glimpse of that in the modern culture with the kamikazes in Japan, or with the Arabs, although they might be lied to about how many virgins they're going to have, the suicide bomber, still yet, it's still based off of a culture that has some remnants of that side of death is not to be feared. And it might be the turning point, and it's going to be the turning point on how these people can say, look, we will never give up this fight. And obviously the Vietnamese had this same thing. Fuck it. We are ready to hold out for 20 years, 30 years, because death is nothing to us. The only person that's fighting for his life is that particular person that doesn't have the knowledge of the afterlife, and not only have the knowledge for the afterlife, know their upper echelon know that this is all they got. Because they're not going to go beyond this fucking realm. And they build a culture conducive to that. You see what I'm saying? So right now the Arabs are the people in Iraq and all, because they have some link to an ancient culture. It might not be much, but it's a remnant to say, hey, look, It ain't no big deal dying.
Right.
Now, and it's not something that's so far-fetched because they just came off a war with Iraq and Afghanistan. You see what I'm saying? They fought all of the 80s. So death is nothing to them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? This is commonplace. But it goes beyond that type of aspect on how these people, you won't be able to defeat these people because the simple fact they have some type of remnants of what it would be like because they're not afraid of dying like we are. And that's the difference. That's the one little edge.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That they have. Because what can the white boy do? He can't blow up the earth with all this bombs and stuff like that because he'll defeat his own purpose. Right. That means he's got to stand face to face and fight these people that have a culture that they have babies just for war. Right. Now, I was talking to one of the Palestinians in 1988. He was over getting a master's degree at Clark Atlanta University or Atlanta University at the time. And we sat up late at night and talked. And he said, shoot, one of my brothers died in Munich, Germany. And he said, my mama had 8 more children after he died. So you got a people that raise children just to be expendable in war. How can you fight against that type of thing? Right. But here goes again, death